Namaste. I always wonder what is the most fascinating thing in this world. And I feel that there are two most fascinating things. They are life and knowledge. Life means being alive. In a sense, one could say that not only living creatures live, but also inanimate objects. They also have a lifespan. A mobile phone, laptop, and all. But for living beings like us, to be alive, to survive, we need understanding. Understanding of the world around us, the situations, the options we have to choose from, and such. That understanding is what knowledge is. That's why these two, the life and knowledge, fascinate me the most. Our existence in the world is not bereft of them. They complement each other. Life is full of wishes and choices. To realize what kind of wish we have and what choice should be made, one needs a rational tool, knowledge. In fact, everyone has this wish. Sukhameva me syat, dukkham managapi ma bhoot, meaning let there be only happiness and let there not be suffering even in thought. By all Indian philosophical schools and also by the religious traditions, this state of existence is termed as nirvana or moksha, freedom or enlightenment. Who does not wish this freedom from all kinds of suffering? But is life all about suffering? Some might disagree, thinking that I am always smiling or I am happy. I am naturally optimistic. People often say I am positivity unleashed, but on contrary, our life full of spirals and twists faced years 2020 and 2021, the COVID years. We faced tears, torment, turmoil, and at the end, the death. Nevertheless, death is not the end. Those survived faced post-COVID challenges. I too joined them and could say this like other survivors of fatalities, that I have battled a fatality as well. I survived 2 generations of COVID in 2 years. I did battle through these, maybe the Chinese and Indian variants. I don't know the origins of those viruses, but sure, I myself was a variant of concern. Despite all precautions and carefulness, I was beaten by COVID and confined to 17-day quarantine twice. I couldn't get up from the bed for many days, and my symptoms continued long after the quarantine period. At the same time, I had to attend to my parents, house, and vocation as usual. So I can say this, that I know what is COVID. During this time, many consoled me. Others have had it worse. You weren't impacted badly. So don't worry. I would like to add here one thing. It's not battling the disease alone that is suffering. The entire experience from testing to quarantine, living in isolation with sickness, were as dreadful as the disease itself. I have old comorbid parents, my bedridden father with multiple ailments, and my mother with her arthritis, diabetes, and stented heart. With me in quarantine, the house comes to a standstill. I was the caretaker of my bedridden father, bathing him, changing his diapers, and so on. My mother can't do much as her health constrains her. It is a bitter onus that is on me now. I have been left with no options. Either I allow my mother to attend to my father, manage the house, and let her struggle, or I continue caretaking and risk infecting them. This is where I found myself in a whirlpool, trapped into making a choice which impacts either today or tomorrow. Such dilemmas, conflicting situations, might be very common in life. But placed in such a situation, I was too stressed to decide. Life is full of wishes. I only wanted health and safety for three of us, but we are impacted now. I have to make a choice. What choice should I make? Should I help my parents and risk? Or I don't help and allow my mother to struggle? To make a choice, a decision or even a suggestion, we need the rational tool, a better understanding, reliable knowledge. But our rationality is limited, bounded. We are bound by the difficulties of situation. We don't have enough information. We are not experts. And the boundaries of time constrain us to make a decision. Unless we consider all possible actions and outcomes, unless we know possibilities and calculate the repercussions, our choices will become mischoices. Finally, I decided to take up the mantle of not burdening her, my mother, for all the 20 days with double mask, face shield, goggles, with regular sanitization, and all the while risking my father's well-being, knowing that if I infected him, it would have grave repercussions. As the house help couldn't come, it resulted in a lot of strain for my mother, leading to cardiac arrest. Yet again I was faced with a dilemma. The doctors advising angioplasty while also informing about its risks. What should I do? What is the best choice? How to know what is the best possible alternative? That's the form a moral dilemma takes. We are compelled to choose between equally advantageous or detrimental alternatives. Many of you must have gone through such moral dilemmas where there is no single right answer. Such moral dilemmas, mischoice, and consequences are abundant in Indian literary classics Mahabharata and Bhagavad Gita. These narratives are packed with characters who go through dilemmas and appear as human as all of us. At the outset of the battle, Arjuna, overcome with sorrow, looking at his kith and kin, expresses his dilemma to Krishna, whether to engage in this battle and bloodshed or withdraw. This conversation takes the form of a beautiful poem, Bhagavad Gita. But what led to this battle was actually Yudhishthira's mischoice. Owing to his authority on ethics, Yudhishthira had earned the title Dharma Raja. Hearing a prophecy, Yudhishthira takes an oath that no matter the future, he won't displease Duryodhana to avoid bloodshed. Despite knowing the deceit involved, Yudhishthira accepts Duryodhana's invitation for the game of dice, thinking he is avoiding the war. As the game continues, he wages one after another his wealth, from kingdom to brothers, himself and Draupadi, and loses them all. After this, Draupadi is dragged by her hair in public and is thrown in front of all at the assembly. Infuriated, withering and terrified, she questions Yudhishthira on what ground she was wagered. Whom you lost first, yourself or me? Kim nu purvam parajayishir atmanam atavanumam. If you have already lost yourself, how did you wager me? She questions the silence of Bhishma and Drona and reprimands all for being incapably impotent. Karna shuns her questions as a mark of womanly arrogance and says, we have not heard of polyandry anywhere. A woman bedding multiple men is a slut and not of any nobility. She is a slave to many masters, so we don't have to listen to her. Outraged, Bhima begins to interfere. And there too, Yudhishthira retreats to avoid confrontation. Upon Duryodhana's orders, Draupadi, though a queen, is disrobed and shamed. With Gandhari's interference, this heinous act comes to an end and Pandava's kingdom is restored to them. Even after such humiliation, adhering to his earlier oath to avoid war, Yudhishthira accepts Duryodhana's invitation for the game once again, loses and is exiled for 13 years. During exile, Draupadi's suffering knows no bounds. Even after the exile, Duryodhana refuses to return the Pandavas their rightful kingdom. Unmoved by his wife's suffering and brother's pain, Yudhishthira chooses peace over and above war. In the end, such constant, uninformed mischoices lead to an inevitable war, endless suffering for all. If at all, Yudhishthira had been wise enough to see that his objectives were frail, his attempts of pleasing Duryodhana and avoiding confrontations, he could have avoided suffering for all. Unless we weigh possibilities and consequences, a choice becomes mischoice. It is knowledge or wisdom that abates our suffering. This is also represented by the theme of this Mahe Tettak Unalome. Unalome, a Sakyant Buddhist symbol, is mostly popular in the Southeast Asian Buddhist traditions. It is also regarded as a Hindu symbol. The symbol features a single line spiraled at the base, runs twisted towards a clear straight line and ends with a lotus or dots. Over a cup of telephonic coffee, my friend had said, which I quote, Unalome captures the tale of life with its many twists and hurdles. These difficulties, the endless dissatisfaction, a product of our wants, fear, ignorance, and indecisiveness, imparts wisdom and clarity, tuning us onto the path of enlightenment. Though we are familiar with the fact Siddhartha Gautama becoming Buddha, what led to him become a monk? As it was prophesied to Gautama's monarch father that his son will become a monk with the realization of social reality, his father confined him to luxurious palatial life, thinking that he won't renounce luxury. Despite the palace being wonderful in all its grandeur, Buddha's horizons did not end with that palace. His curiosity, desire to know, introduced him to the momentariness of life in an old person, an ill, a diseased, and a wise monk on his path. This twist changed his worldview. He realized that everything in this life is momentary. What is today is not tomorrow. It changes constantly, every second, every moment. When we say how old we are, we do not consider the exact number of months, days, hours, minutes, seconds, and every planned time that pass by. Instead, we round it up and say I'm 25 or I'm in my 20s, I was young, now I grew to become a prince, a partner, a householder, and a parent. My parent also grew old, like this fellow. I will grow old too. Old age is vulnerable, not just old, being alive is vulnerable. Life is vulnerable to disease and death. The luxury ain't sole happiness, it is bound, clouded by sadness. So I give up this bondage and seek wisdom. The prophecy became true as his father's frail objective of imprisoning his own son was a mischoice. It was a mischoice to consider the palatial life as bereft of suffering. Irrespective of one's wealth and comfort, the vulnerabilities of life, COVID and others, impact all. The path to wisdom, the end of all suffering, is forged through these truths. Suffering is inevitable. The cause for it is inconsiderate desires. We can overcome suffering by changing our outlook. The middle path of careful and scrupulous wisdom, moderated wisdom, is the path to enlightenment. It empowers one to choose, and any choice carefully examined could be a path to self-fulfillment. Realizing one's mischoices is the first step to wisdom. With such wisdom, we make better decisions, attaining self-fulfillment, the state of nirvana. Here ends the narrative of life with wishes and choices governed by knowledge, the know-how of life. Thank you all for having me here and listening to me.